Hey everybody, it's Alan from Woodcrest Bonsai. Today I am going to turn these very long leggy, God, I'm spacing out on what plant they are, Green Island Ficus, into future Shohin trees. And right now they're in a 12 pack, which typically you buy flowers in, marigolds or zinnias or something like that, maybe impatiens. And so I saved them, and this was just sort of an afterthought. I was taking some cuttings of my Green Island Ficus, and I had a few kind of left over, and I thought, let's just stick them into here. So they're now going to come out of here, and I'm going to put them individually into these guys here, and these are actually applesauce containers that have had holes poked in them. So the tree is going to go into there, and then it's going to go into this tray, which we see here. This is a tray that used to hold a family pack of chicken, and I'm going to fill it with soil, and then each individual pot will go into the tray. And what this does is it allows the roots to move through the drain holes of the applesauce container into the soil below. And that does two things. Do you notice how these guys are all bent over? Some of them are almost horizontal. All right, if they're in just an individual pot like this, and they get this tall, they'll be falling over, and over, and over, and over, and over. Allowing them to grow through the holes in the applesauce thing into the lower soil means they'll be much more stable. Plus, they're much easier to water. Watering a guy like this, if you kind of miss, Green Island Ficus are a pretty tough plant, but still, it's a whole lot easier to just water the entire bed with all of the plants in there, and you're pretty sure that you're going to get consistent water to every single plant. So the first order of business is to fill the tray. Not all the way to the top either, because we want the applesauce container to kind of sit down in there. Okay? Like that. And then I'm just going to grab, and even though this is a 12 pack, like this one here didn't root, so I'm not going to end up with 12. So I'm going to grab one out of there. Oh, well, look at that soil. Oh, earthworms. See that little earthworm right there? That's why this soil is so nasty. This is a testament to how incredibly resilient Green Island Ficus are. So I really need my plastic tray because I don't want this nasty soil getting all over the place. And earthworms are absolutely fantastic in the ground. In a pot, they're a death sentence. Look at the soil. It's just so incredibly nasty. And that's because of the earthworms. So look at that root system, hardly anything. So I'm going to take it to right there. Then put it in. Oh, I guess I need to get rid of this again. Put it into some good soil. Try to feather the roots out as best I can. And since we're coming up into summer, should be able to take a pretty good bit off the roots and the tree will still survive. And of course I want the tree to be like that. If I had it like that, then that would just look weird. Have a little bit like that. Add some, and this is my homemade landscape mix. Put that puppy in there. add some more soil. I want it as close to the middle of the pot as I can get. And then just kind of push it down into the tray, and there you go. So once I get a little bit more established, which I will see from new growth, then I'll fertilize. And I also like to use a little bit of a granular weed preventer, so I just sprinkle the whole thing. So now I'm going to add more and more cups so that this whole tray is full. Once again, the reason I do that is so they don't fall over, because the roots will move into this soil, keep them more stable, and it's so much easier to keep them watered. So I'm going to do another one over here, and this one is crazy because it's just sitting right out of the soil. I mean, look at that. The soil level was right here, and the roots are just all crazy. Now, this doesn't really have anything low that has sprouted. It's all sprouted way up here. But I'm still going to chop it. And the roots are pretty nice if we can feather those roots out. So I'm going to chop it somewhere. There's a bud right there. Hard to see, so I'm going to chop it to right there. And then I need to cut all the roots away so it will fit into the applesauce container. And as you can see, it was lying like this, so these roots have shot down. But I don't want that. I want to bring those roots out like this, so that when we look from above, they're all feathered into a 360 degree, or at least as close as you can get to a 360 degree radial. Okay, and I'm going to take a little bit more off of the roots, fill it with some soil, and then put that guy in there. Especially focused on those two roots that were pointing down. And so there we go. And then fill it a little bit more. And then kind of squish it down into that ambient soil. And then I usually add a little bit more soil in the tray around the pot. I want the soil in the tray to be pretty full. So there we go. Let's see if we can get another one. Let's do this guy. Once again, that looks like earthworm soil. So off camera, I'm going to get rid of all of that. And then we do have a sprout. We have a bunch of sprouts all up and down. So I'm going to go to the lowest sprout. So there's my tree. And then cut all the roots. And here's a very high root that I'm going to just take off completely. Cut all the roots. It's not a perfect root system, but sometimes you're just... We've actually got brand new white roots starting, so that's nice. And then get my cup, fill it about 3/4 of the soil, take my tree, feather those roots out the best I can. We basically got two really big main roots and then a couple of much smaller white roots that have just begun to grow. Oh, this guy already fell over. So there's nothing that a little bit of a rock. Do I have a rock? but I would put a rock. Just put a rock in there like that, keep him up. So then squish that guy down in there, and then push the soil from the tray. And there we go, and I'm just going to fill the whole tray. So it's a, and these guys here, I may do something with them. Who knows? Maybe I'll jam them back into the 12 pack. But like I said, these were all just an afterthought. Look, take a look at this one. Just gorgeous, growing like absolutely beautifully. But it's got some funky roots. It's got roots way up here, which we don't really want. It also has what appears to be earthworm affected soil. So take it to the tray, get rid of all that soil, get rid of these upper roots. And then cut back the roots here so they fit. Cut, thank you. This one has a little bit of a funky root system, no doubt about it. And even though the top is so beautiful, we're going to still chop it because these are going to be Shohin, so it'll just have to completely regrow. And then get my cup. I'm looking at the roots here. I still have a lot of roots that are up above that I don't really want. Okay, do my very best to get that root system to be nice and radial. And for me, this is really the essence of growing bonsai from small cuttings like this, is that you are able to control the positioning of the roots from a very young age, so that when this tree gets older, those roots will still be in place. If you just jam these guys into these pots and then the roots were all higgledy-piggledy, well, they continue to be higgledy-piggledy forever. You just don't. It's so much easier to just manipulate the roots when they're little. Yeah, this guy definitely needs a rock. I think I'll go get a rock. Okay. Beautiful. Beautiful. So there you go. And when I've showed other plants that I do this with, I've done it with Premna, and I do it with Portulacaria jade. And I'm thinking in my brain as I'm going through my benches, I think that's about it. Premna and Portulacaria. So I'm looking forward to watching these guys develop. So I'll fill the whole tray. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I should be able to get them all in here. But that's the same process. So, you just continue the same process over and over and over again. And then aftercare on these guys is to water them in immediately really well. And then when I start to see sprouting, especially on the ones that I denuded into just sticks, then I give it a little bit of fertilizer. And I also like to use that granular weed preventer, because once weeds get into these little spaces, like when we get another pot, do I have another pot? Where are pots? I don't know. I don't have one, but when you start putting them close together and you get weeds that come in between, it's so hard to pull. So much easier to just use the preventative And it's not a panacea. And of course, when it comes to weeds, nothing is a panacea. The best way to control weeds is I think you got the idea. So there we go. And once again, these were just an afterthought. I just said, you know what? I've got these left over. I'm just going to stick them into this tray. And so what do we got? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 7 more. So only one did not make it because it's a 12-pack. I got 11 cuttings to root, and only one did not make it. So these would be, small trees. And I think they're going to be, well, I know they're going to be fun to work on. So that's it for this video. Green Island ficus, a very tropical tree like all ficus. And green islands are also dwarfs, so they never get all that high. So they make a pretty good Shohin. A lot of ficus that are prone to getting very, very, very large sometimes can be a little tricky to keep them as Shohin because they just want to grow so much more. But not Green Island. They are probably one of the best for Shohin. So if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Once again, I do put drain holes in the bottom screen because once it starts to rain here in the rainy season, it doesn't happen all the time, but it can rain every single day. And so you've got to have some drainage. If you want to try this and say you're doing something inside where it's way more controlled, you may not even need to put drain holes in the bottom tray. Just make sure that it doesn't become too soggy. But for me, I've got to have those drain holes because you just cannot control the frequency and intensity of the rain in the summer. Right now we're in our dry season, and man, has it been dry. But that will change. So thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave a comment. Does anybody else do this? I know there are some people out there that do. So thank you so much for watching Woodcrest Bonsai.